The season didn't end with a sack or a missed kick or a blown coverage. It ended with a ball in the air, hanging just long enough for hope to freeze before crashing into reality. Caleb Williams' throw in overtime against the Rams didn't just end a game. It detonated a debate that's been quietly brewing all season, and by Monday morning, it exploded into something much bigger than football. Because the moment that interception hit the turf, this stopped being just about a 20-17 loss. It became about identity, about leadership, about what Chicago believes a franchise quarterback is supposed to look like, act like, and represent. And when former coach Jason Brown decided to open his mouth, the conversation took a sharp turn into uncomfortable territory that the NFL still doesn't know how to handle. But before the noise, before the takes, before the insults, you have to understand how high this season climbed before it fell. The Chicago Bears were not supposed to be here this fast. 11 wins. NFC North champions. Caleb Williams didn't arrive quietly. A rookie quarterback who didn't just survive the pressure of Chicago but leaned into it. He arrived with confidence, creativity, and a swagger that made defenders hesitate and fans believe. Week after week, he delivered moments that felt different from what this franchise had known for decades. For the first time in Bears history, hope didn't feel borrowed. It felt owned. Williams threw for 3,942 yards in the regular season, 27 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, numbers that placed him firmly in the upper tier of quarterbacks, especially for someone still learning the speed of the league. He commanded the huddle. He extended plays that had no business existing. He won games late. And he did it while being unapologetically himself. That last part mattered more than anyone realized. Because from the moment Caleb Williams painted his fingernails at USC, he became something bigger than a quarterback. To some, it was harmless. To others, it was a symbol. Williams explained it clearly years ago. It was for his mother, a nail technician, a personal ritual, a reminder of where he came from. It was never about provocation. But perception doesn't care about intention, and the NFL is a league where perception becomes narrative fast. Still, winning quieted everything. When the Bears beat Green Bay in the wild card round, Soldier Field felt like it was shaking. Williams threw for 361 yards, 2 touchdowns. Yes, there were 2 interceptions, but they were overshadowed by resilience, by toughness, by the kind of performance that said this moment wasn't too big for him. Beating the Packers in January does something to a quarterback in Chicago. It buys belief. And then came the Rams. The Rams didn't overwhelm Chicago with talent. They outlasted them with discipline. Williams finished 23 of 42 for 257 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. That stat line doesn't tell the whole story, but it tells enough. The Rams disguised coverages. They baited throws. They forced Williams to be perfect longer than he had been all season. And yet, with 18 seconds left, down 7, season slipping away, Williams delivered. A 14-yard touchdown to Cole Kmet. Tie game, chaos, belief reborn. That moment should have been legendary. It should have been replayed for years. But football is cruel. Overtime came. One more mistake. 1 interception. Silence. Chicago's season was over. And that's when the voices came out. Jason Brown didn't just criticize Caleb Williams, he attacked him. On his show, Brown rattled off playoff numbers with venom, calling Williams Galeb, mocking his fingernails, questioning his masculinity, and tying performance to appearance in a way that felt less like analysis and more like projection. He didn't stop at football. He crossed into culture, identity, and something much uglier. And suddenly, the conversation wasn't about coverages or reads or rookie growing pains. It was about whether being different disqualifies you from being great. Here's the part people don't want to admit. Criticism is fair. Williams threw 5 interceptions in 2 playoff games. His QBR in the postseason was 50.6. That matters. Turnovers matter. Decisions matter. No quarterback is above that conversation. But when criticism shifts from performance to personal expression, something else is happening. Because if this were really about winning, the same energy would be applied evenly. Josh Allen threw costly interceptions early in his career. Peyton Manning set the rookie interception record. Troy Aikman went 1-15. Growth is messy, but none of those quarterbacks were told they failed because of who they were off the field. Caleb Williams is being judged on a different scale, and Chicago is stuck in the middle of it. The Bears have never had a 4,000-yard passer. That stat gets thrown around like a curse. Brown used it like a weapon. But Williams came within 58 yards of breaking it in his first season. 58. In an offense that was still finding itself. In a city that eats quarterbacks alive. That doesn't sound like softness. That sounds like progress. Still, overtime interceptions linger. They always do. Especially in January. So here's the real question. Did Caleb Williams lose this game because he's not ready yet? Or because he's not allowed to be imperfect? Did the Rams expose a flaw? Or did the moment simply arrive too soon? Because those are very different answers, and Chicago's future depends on which one the organization believes. Inside that locker room, teammates aren't talking about fingernails. They're talking about preparation, about accountability, about a rookie who took responsibility after the loss instead of deflecting. Williams didn't blame play calling. He didn't blame protection. He owned it. That matters more than hot takes ever will. And let's be clear, leadership doesn't always look the same. It doesn't always sound the same. The NFL has room for different kinds of quarterbacks, whether some people like it or not. The league has changed. The game has changed. The question is whether minds will change with it. Chicago now faces an offseason loaded with decisions. Do you build more protection around Williams? Do you add another weapon? Do you adjust the offense to reduce risk? Or do you panic because the ending hurt too much? Because this loss is going to be remembered, not just for the interception, but for what came after. For the way a rookie quarterback became a lightning rod for a conversation that has nothing to do with reads and progressions and everything to do with comfort zones. Caleb Williams didn't cost the Bears their season alone. Football is never that simple, but he also didn't escape responsibility. Both things can be true. The danger is letting noise drown out nuance. And here's the twist nobody's ready for yet. This moment might be the best thing that ever happened to him. Every elite quarterback has a scar, a loss that sharpens them, a failure that follows them into greatness. For some, it's a Super Bowl. For others, it's an interception that changes how they see the game forever. This could be that moment for Caleb Williams. Or it could be the moment Chicago turns on him too fast. That choice hasn't been made yet, so now it's on you. Was Jason Brown saying what others are afraid to admit, or did he cross a line that proves Caleb Williams is being judged unfairly? And more importantly, do you believe this loss defines him, or do you think it just started the next chapter? And this is where the story gets even more uncomfortable for people who want simple answers. Because if you strip away the noise, strip away the viral clips, strip away the insults, you're left with a rookie quarterback who was asked to carry a franchise that has spent decades searching for stability. Chicago didn't just draft Caleb Williams to win games. They drafted him to change who they are. And that kind of pressure doesn't disappear just because the calendar flips to January. What the Rams did brilliantly was force Williams to be patient longer than he wanted to be. They didn't blitz recklessly. They didn't sell out. They waited. They trusted that eventually a young quarterback would try to make something happen. And in overtime, that patience paid off. The interception wasn't reckless arrogance. It was urgency colliding with experience. That distinction matters. Because quarterbacks who never take risks don't win championships either. The line between hero and villain in this league is razor thin, and Williams crossed it by inches, not miles. Yet the reaction treated it like proof of something permanent, something unfixable, and that's where the Bears' history becomes part of the problem. Chicago fans have been burned before. They've heard promises. They've watched flashes fade. Every interception feels like déjà vu. So when someone like Jason Brown frames this loss as validation, it taps into an old fear that this is just another false dawn. That fear doesn't come from hatred. It comes from scars. But here's what gets lost. Caleb Williams didn't shrink as the season went on. He expanded. Late-game situations didn't rattle him. Road environments didn't overwhelm him. He didn't play safe to protect a stat line. He played to win. And sometimes that costs you everything. Inside Hallis Hall, coaches are already breaking down that overtime play frame by frame. Not to shame him, but to teach. Where his eyes went, how the safety rotated, what his outlet should have been. This is the boring, unsexy work that turns talented quarterbacks into great ones. And it's work Williams has shown he embraces. What he hasn't done is apologize for being himself. That matters more than people realize. Because confidence without authenticity cracks under pressure. Williams' confidence is rooted in knowing who he is, not pretending to be something else. The league is full of players who tried to fit a mold and lost themselves in the process. That rarely ends well. The irony is that the same creativity people mock is what makes him dangerous. The same fearlessness people criticize is what allowed the Bears to come back with 18 seconds left. You can't ask for magic and then punish the magician when a trick fails. Chicago now stands at a crossroads. They can protect Williams from the noise, reinforce trust, and build intelligently around him. Or they can let outside voices shape internal doubt. One path leads to growth. The other leads to another restart in 3 years. And the league is watching. Because this isn't just about Caleb Williams. It's about what kind of quarterback the NFL is willing to accept moving forward. The position has evolved. Personalities are louder. Expression is broader. The old archetype isn't dead, but it's no longer the only option. Resistance to that reality often disguises itself as football criticism. The Rams' loss will live on highlight reels. The interception will be replayed. That's unavoidable. But so will the throw to Cole Kmet. So will the season that ended with Chicago relevant in January for the first time in a long time. History doesn't remember quarterbacks for how they start. It remembers how they respond. Caleb Williams now enters the most important offseason of his career. Not because his job is in danger, but because his foundation is being poured. This is where great ones separate themselves. In film rooms, in weight rooms, in quiet moments when the noise fades and accountability remains. And here's the part that might surprise you. This city is built for redemption stories. Chicago forgives mistakes if effort is undeniable. If Williams comes back sharper, calmer, and more precise, this loss will transform from weapon to fuel, from punchline to turning point. Jason Brown will move on to the next target. The internet will find a new outrage. But the Bears won't forget this moment. Neither will Williams, so ask yourself this. If that overtime pass falls incomplete instead of intercepted, are we even having this conversation? Or does one bounce really change everything? That's why this debate matters, because it exposes how thin the margins are between belief and doubt, between support and skepticism. Caleb Williams didn't lose Chicago's future on one throw. He revealed how fragile trust can be when expectations rise faster than patience. Now it's Chicago's turn to decide who they want to bed. Do they double down on a quarterback who already took them further than most thought possible? Or do they let fear rewrite progress? That answer won't come from a podcast rant or a viral clip. It'll come next season when Williams takes the field again, scars visible, lessons learned, and expectations heavier than ever. And when that moment comes, we'll find out who really learned from this loss. So one last question for you. If you were running the Bears, would you change anything about Caleb Williams right now, or would you change everything around him? Drop your answer in the comments because this conversation isn't going away, and neither is Caleb Williams.